So first of all, obviously devastating news about Emma Watson this week. And how's she doing? And are you able to clarify what the problem is with Jade Riviere, who pulled out of the Canada squad this week?
Yeah, so firstly, Emma. Look, Emma's one of those unique characters, as if that she's mature beyond her years. So she's a 17-year-old, but she's really about 27 in her mentality and her professionalism. It's devastating news for her, and obviously for us. She was doing so well during pre-season, and would have featured throughout the season in I'm sure a growing role. But what we have here is she's already been in, I think, the outpouring of love from players, and like people like Aoife Mannion who've been through it themselves. Have been, they were sitting the other day together at breakfast, and Aoife's been walking her up and down while she's on her crutches and so on. So she literally has been super supportive. Everybody here, we have a great medical department, so she'll be looked after wonderfully well. It was, a weird situation, to come back from international duty, and I think, Caroline Weir was the same, right? Unfortunately, two very, very good players. So what I can promise is that we will look after her. We'll make sure she comes back in a even better position than she is, and she'll be really exciting for the fans. On Jade Riviere, so basically, when we played Bayern Munich, Jade blocked a shot, and it kind of adjusted her kind of knee a little bit. Nothing too serious, but she was on a rehab phase to come back. Jade will train this morning, so Jade will be in contention for the game the weekend. So she's now clear to enter full training today. So hopefully no reoccurrence, and she's okay.
Last season, I think you were quite loyal to a core bunch of regular starters in the team and challenged the rest of the squad to break into the team. Now you've enlarged your squad with a host of top internationals. Are you going to stick to the same plan, or do you expect to rotate the players a bit more?
No. In all honesty, Asif, and I think there's a lot more made of it than there needs to be last season. No disrespect, like we made history with that way of doing things. So I don't think that's paid enough respect. But from this perspective, this year, the whole reason we got to a point where we qualified for Champions League. We have an extremely difficult tie. We know that, home and away. But the whole reason, Asif, we're a unique club that has a challenge of jumping from Championship 5 seasons ago to Champions League. And what's had to happen is we have to get players that have the experience and the qualities to take us hopefully further. So, we're trying to bridge a gap that was just there because of our age. And so from my perspective this year, look, there's always a will and desire to rotate, but as if we had one game a week, everyone was fit and it was healthy and it was consistent. So it was a unique situation last year. If we can then continue in the latter stages of cup competitions and the Champions League, then absolutely everyone will be used and everybody will have their opportunity to play. So I think it's much more about understanding the nature of our club and where we're at. It's different to the others, The same thing could be said about Chelsea, but then Chelsea have been investing in their squad for a long time now, right? Arsenal the same, Manchester City the same. Whereas, we have to get the players that are at that level, and we feel that we've done the work this summer that will help us, especially in this season, do that. So I know it's a long-winded answer, but I think it kind of answers a lot about what we're talking about from last season. I think we almost need to drop that now because regardless of what anybody says, Manchester United made history for the club last year. So, I'm happy with what we did and what we achieved last year.
Just a word on Villa. For a few years we talked about top 3. United came along and we then started talking about top 4. Do you think it's kind of a respect now to Villa that we're talking about, kind of almost like a mini Liga top 5 this season?
Yeah, I mean, do you know what, Dan? In all honesty, I think it goes on investment, right? And I think, I'm sure Carla this year will face her own pressures because it was okay last year when you're almost the underdog and you're punching above and you're doing this. Well, actually, there's pressures coming when you've got to win. When a club invests, there's a pressure on you to win. So she'll find those pressures herself this year, and I'm sure she'll deal with those as she will. But from my perspective, I've always thought that Villa could on any given day beat any one of the top 4 teams. Now, I still think it's disrespectful to go top 4 just because of position finished. I get that there's an investment gap, but actually, if you look below the top 4, there's an investment gap that's being closed rapidly, and I mean rapidly. in facilities, in structure, in experience for player. So from my perspective, when we talk about it, might be a bit lazy for us to say top 4, but actually there's a lot of structures around that can bridge gaps between those positions. And I look at the stuff that Liverpool have done, that Tottenham are doing, like Brighton, for example. I'm really, she's got to be happy with exactly the work that they've done. So I think more importantly, Dan, when I look at like an NWSL and how competitive that league is, I think this league can be that competitive. So we might be seeing differences, like history might not repeat itself. So I think it's going to be a very interesting season for many.
Just a quick one on the scheduling. You mentioned before about the international break and the fact it wasn't great timing. Willie Kirk had quite strong opinions on it yesterday. So yeah, just wanted kind of your opinion. Obviously, having that break, it's not really ideal, is it?
Well, do you know, like one of the things that for me probably factors in, I watched England's performances, and I'm sure Serena wasn't. It's not usually an England performance, right? It wasn't as fluid as they usually are and as they have been. And I think like it just pays that they've just come off a World Cup, coming into an important game. You know, they're 2 qualifying games and they're difficult opponents. And yet we were not at the races because the girls have to mentally reset as well as physically reset. And I think we do a good job of that. You know, we gave our players off and they joined us in Germany. So we had only had a short window with those players before they went away on international window. And do you know what, Emma? I just hope it doesn't have a lag into the season. You know what I mean? Like we all want this energetic start, but I might be predicting the future and I might get it wrong. But I'd imagine every game this opening weekend will end with walking football at the end. So by the last 20 minutes, it'll probably be like walking football because there'll be people that are fatigued. They're not up to scratch and not up to the minutes they need right now. And from my perspective, it's a crazy way to just shovel games in. I get the format, I get the intent, but I'm not even sure the international managers were happy with it. Some might have been that didn't compete in the World Cup, but others won't be. So from my perspective, I think it's a strange window and will definitely lead to a lack of cohesion for a lot of teams going into all of their markets, not just England. So yeah, maybe I haven't gone as scathing as Willie, but it definitely wasn't ideal.